Welcome, CNA fam, to the number one daily Bitcoin pod. Historic day for all Americans and Bitcoiners across the world yesterday. We finally got the strategic Bitcoin reserve established for the United States of America. And another historic day going down today, the first crypto White House summit. I'll be sharing everything you need to know. We'll also be discussing the latest technical analysis, of course, as well as breaking news. Texas Senate passes Bitcoin strategic reserve bill. Let's go. As well as Trump signing the executive order for the strategic Bitcoin reserve and what that means for America and Bitcoiners. We'll also be discussing Trump's Bitcoin reserve order reshaping the institutional crypto investment landscape, as well as China's Bitcoin reserves. What happens if it follows the U.S. playbook? We'll also be discussing all the speculation regarding today's crypto White House summit. The very first, the rumor circulating right now is Trump making the announcement of 0% capital gains tax on Bitcoin and all U.S. cryptocurrencies. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this plus so much motherfucking more in today's show. And happy TGIF. If you're new to the channel, very important to smash the likes. Go ahead and subscribe. We're the number one daily Bitcoin pod, hands down. Then ring the bell. Turn on all notifications to receive daily premium crypto newsletters every single day, 7 days a week, including TGIFs like today. Obviously, it's Friday, March 7th, 2025. This is pod episode number 1926. Yesterday, Trump announced the strategic Bitcoin reserve. It's official. He put his Johnny Hancock on the executive order. Done deal. Game theory, global hash wars in full effect. Shout out to Max Kaiser for coining that phrase many years ago. And today is the big crypto summit at the White House, the very first of its kind. And there's a lot of speculation and rumors are circulating. They making an announcement of 0% capital gains tax on Bitcoin and cryptos created in the United States. So let's break her all down and dive right in. Right now on your screen, you're looking at Coin 360. Bitcoin's currently hovering just above 88,200 at the time of the live stream. Ether is down 0.75%. XRP is the big loser alongside Cardano on the day, roughly down 5% each. Solana's in the green. BNB is in the green. And checking out CoinMarketCap.com. The current crypto market cap sits at $2.89 trillion. The Biddy market cap at $1.746 trillion. We got roughly 137 billion worth of volume over the past 24 hours. And we currently have the Bitcoin dominance maintaining at 60.2%, with the Ether dominance all the way down to 9.1%. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers past 24 hours, we got Athena leading the pack, up 16%. Followed by Radium, up 6%, followed by Move, up 6%. And let me know which alts, if any, you're bullish on for the bull. Holla at your boy. And checking out the crypto bubbles, we get a visual perspective on the daily. Safe to say, I'd say 60-40 green over red in the altcoin market. And zooming out on the monthly, unfortunately, it's like 90% Rex City. Yeah, man, be careful with the shitcoinery. And checking out the Crypto Greed and Fear Index. Today, we're all the way back in fear with a 34. Yesterday, 25. Last week, a 16. And last month, a 54, which is neutral. And checking out the time chain calendar. We currently have 163,267 blocks until the next halving of 2028. We're currently on block number 886,733. And you can currently exchange one fiat monopoly dollar for 1,104 sats. So pick up the sats, put down the gats, and pick up some Bitcoin caps from our man Sergio over at bitcoincaps.net. But next, let's dive into today's technical analysis, aka astrology. For the broskies, here you have it. Headline reads, Bitcoin forgets strategic reserve, sell the news event with a 4% bounce. Also want to read you a tweet from Max Kaiser. Number one, 45% of the IMF's SDR is US dollar. Number two, Trump understands, unlike the IMF, Bitcoin de-risk economies. Number three, Trump liquidates USD held by SDR to buy more budget neutral Bitcoin. That's a key point right there. Number four, other countries contributing to the SDR follow suit. And number five, the IMF is financially euthanized. So take that. IMF. But let's dive into the analysis here. Here's the one-day chart. Bitcoin rebounded 4% March 7th as markets shook off the disappointment over the U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve. I view things differently. I don't view Trump signing the executive order for a solo Bitcoin strategic reserve for the United States. I think that's one of the most bullish announcements of all time, just because the market didn't pump. I mean, who cares? An opportunity to stack cheap sats. We all know what direction Bitcoin is about to moon. And I think that's the bigger picture here, but I digress. These came as President Trump signed the long-awaited executive order establishing the reserve, which will consist of no new Bitcoin. Only confiscated coins will form for the stockpile. Quoting David Sachs here, premature sales of Bitcoin have already cost U.S. taxpayers over $17 billion. And happy 420, by the way. It's 4:20 p.m. here in Puerto Rico, where I'm streaming from. But now that the federal government will have a strategy to maximize the value of its holdings, the Secretaries of Treasury and Commerce are authorized to develop budget-neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin, provided that those strategies have no incremental costs on American taxpayers. Great. Let's cut off why these Dems are receiving billions of dollars in pay, and let's just buy some friggin' Bitcoin. It's game time. As shared here just now, President Trump signed the executive order. Let me know if you watched that. I know I shared it over on X. It's probably one of the most viral clips, but it's a done deal. It's done. Congratulations on my Bitcoiners. Markets initially fell swiftly on the event as bulls hoped for additional Bitcoin acquisitions vanish. For what it's worth, this is not the reserve that the crypto bulls had in mind, according to the Gabisi letter, who share here a clear sell the news event with expectations not being met. The subsequent Asian trading session, nonetheless, witnessed renewed strength ahead of the White House Crypto Summit going on right now. Longtime industry commentators saw little reason for cold feet, given the overall stance of the new U.S. government on crypto. Quoting BitQuant, I still don't understand how people fail to distinguish between bullish and non-bullish news. I can't recall a time when Bitcoin was more bullish, yet they still managed to manipulate you into panicking at the bottom. Precisely my sentiment. I agree with that. And also Charles Edwards, founder of Capriole Investments, described the market as excessively short at the sub 85,000 lows, quoting him here. Bitcoin always overreacts on news, both up and down. And I think he makes a great point there. Now, the reserve was not the day's only potential volatility catalyst on the radar. A raft of U.S. employment data was due today as well, along with a speech from Jay Powell, chairman of the Fed, in a week after the Fed's preferred inflation gauge arrived in line with expectation. Markets have been gradually increasing their expectations over the number of interest rate cuts occurring over the year. And now let's pull up some of the live charts for y'all. We can see what's actually happening in the market right now. So give me a second to pull that up on screen. Here you're looking at a 1 hour chart. This is live and in the flesh, live chart action Jackson. You can see there is a rising wedge, extreme volatility. We go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. Currently we're pumping, dumping at around 87.7 at the time of the live stream. Zooming out for the 4 hour chart. As you can see here, similar concept, up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. That's the hack for Contra 99 Lives. And if you are a Nintendo player, I remember when I was like 5 years old. Interesting how the codes stay embedded in the unconscious mind. But anyways, checking out the one-day chart, as you can see on your screen. Thus far, bearish. Yesterday was a red candle close, even with some of the most bullish news we have seen in a very long time. But zooming out from the daily, let's check out the weekly chart. Shows us a target of 124,000 in play. Max Kaiser made a tweet yesterday predicting that Bitcoin would hit $120,000 in March, which would be right in alignment with this cup and handle target on the weekly chart. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the weekly chart and the one and only high priest, Max Kaiser. And zooming out from the weekly, take a quick look at the monthly. And as you can see, thus far, March has been pretty bullish, even though we're having a nice little correction at the current moment. February was a very bearish month. Unfortunately, January was bullish. December, itty bitty red candle close, and November was the November Godzilla candle, approximately a 30,000 appreciation, which was the largest appreciative candle close in Bitcoin history since the inception of the Genesis block. But anyways, next story of the day. This is big news after the infamous freeze frame. Texas Senate officially passed the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Bill. That's right. The Texas Senate passed the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Bill, SB 21, in a 25-5 vote yesterday, following a fierce debate on the Senate state floor. Texas State Senator Charles Schwertner, who introduced the legislation, argued for the bill and said it would help Texas shore up the balance sheet with a valuable, scarce asset. Quoting Senator here, "We don't have the stacks of dollar bills and safes like we did in the medieval times. What we do have is digital currency." Now, the pro-Bitcoin lawmakers also fears that Bitcoin was a direct competitor to the U.S. dollar as a global reserve currency, adding Bitcoin was more similar to gold and a hedge against inflation. Preach, quoting him here. "I would argue and put forth that because of the central intervention and manipulation of the supply of the currency, in this case the US dollar, the ability to spend money through printing money has caused the dollar to fall in value and fall in worth." And that's precisely how it works. They just print endless fiat currency and it devalues the dollar, hence the inflation we're experiencing and why a dozen eggs is currently like $15 in Puerto Rico. Go figure. This monetary inflation has caused people to lose faith in the U.S. dollar. The Texas state senator added, "The bill must be signed by the governor to be passed into law." So I take it that's the next step. And if SB 21 is enacted, Texas will become the very first state in the United States to have a digital asset strategic reserve. Let's go, Texas. Who do you think will be first to officially pass it from a state level? Will it be Texas, Utah? And I know there's like 30 other states in the process as well. Let me know. Now, the Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve legislation was introduced in January as a Bitcoin-only bill, did not mention the acquisition of other digital assets. Good. However, in February, the bill was refiled with broader language to reflect the potential inclusion of other digital assets. Texas lawmakers overhauled the bill following President Trump's January 23rd executive order directing a commission to study the feasibility of a digital asset stockpile, which would likely include multiple cryptocurrencies. Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis, one of the most vocal proponents for the Bitcoin Strategic U.S. Reserve, recently told the audience at the Bitcoin Investor Week conference in New York that states will likely adopt Bitcoin reserves before the federal government does. And I think she's right because there's less politics involved from a state level versus the federal level. And it kind of reminds me of like cannabis adoption, where it was like illegal from a federal level, but then they started accepting it state by state. You know what I mean? And then the Fed eventually will come around. But as you can see here, there's currently 33 states out of the 50 in the United States that are in the process of adopting Bitcoin some way, somehow. Strategic Bitcoin reserves introduced to 32 of those states, and that's pretty substantial. Lummis introduced the Bitcoin Act of 2024 to the U.S. Senate back in July of last year, arguing the federal adoption would be slower than the state adoption due to the bureaucratic and procedural hurdles. And I think she's precisely right. Shout out Cynthia Lummis. And there you have it, yo. Big news. So let's dive into what just happened last night before we start speculating what's going on right frickin' now at the White House. Notice Nippinator's not in his bed. We unleashed the hound at the White House. Nippinator is regulating like a young Nate Dogg and Warren G. You feel me? But anyways, headline here, Donald Trump signs the executive order for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. History was made last night. Trump signed the executive order creating the Bitcoin strategic reserve and a digital asset stockpile, both of which will initially use cryptocurrency forfeited in government criminal cases. Criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance. Quoting David Sachs, just a few minutes ago, President Trump signed the executive order establishing the strategic Bitcoin reserve. The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin owned by the federal government that was forfeited as part of the criminal or civil asset forfeiture proceedings. Additionally, a March 6 fact sheet from the White House said the order also establishes a U.S. digital asset stockpile. I repeat, the order also establishes a U.S. digital asset stockpile, which Sachs said will be made up of cryptocurrencies other than Bitcoin. So just as I predicted would happen, we got the solo strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States, and the stockpile is for the other altcoins, the Cardanos, I guess the XRPs, and the other things, Ether, etc. Let me know if you guys saw that video. History was made. Bloomberg had earlier reported Trump was expected to sign the executive order establishing the Bitcoin reserve during the White House summit March 7th, with one option that included seeding it with government-owned crypto. Sachs said the Bitcoin reserve was I like when he said that. It's a digital Fort Knox for the cryptocurrency, and the U.S. wouldn't sell any Bitcoin put in the reserve. Preach! It'll be kept as a store of value. The White House said the Bitcoin owned by the Treasury Department would cede the reserve, and other federal agencies will evaluate their legal authority to transfer any of the Bitty they own into the reserve. It added that the Treasury and the Commerce Secretaries would make budget-neutral strategies for buying more Bitcoin. That's the key word. Buying more Bitcoin using the budget-neutral strategies for the reserve, provided that those strategies impose no incremental costs on American taxpayers. There's so much waste going on. I'm sure Michael Saylor's going to share a report with Trump and his team of all the billions of dollars the United States is wasting that could be going directly into pretty little bitty going up forever, Laura. Just saying. But as far as the digital asset stockpile, Sachs said its purpose is to be responsible stewardship of the government's digital assets under the Treasury Department. But notably, he added the government wouldn't buy additional crypto for the stockpile beyond those obtained through the forfeiture proceedings, and that the Treasury Secretary may determine strategies for responsible stewardship, including potential sales from the stockpile. Days earlier, March 3rd, Trump posted on Truth Social that the crypto reserve would include XRP, Solana, and Cardano, which sent Bitcoin on a God candle in the day. It sent Cardano up 60%. XRP surged 30%, and then the next day, everything crashed. Ironic enough, but I digress. He later added Ether and Bitcoin, of course, would be at the heart of the reserve. And then Arkham showed the U.S. government doesn't hold any XRP, Solana, or Cardano among the $18 billion worth of crypto currently under its control. Its largest holdings is 198,000 Bitcoin, and I don't believe it all belongs to them, worth 17.8 billion. Their ETH holdings is only 119 million, and the third largest holding behind 122 million is stablecoin Tether. Sachs claim there has never been a complete audit of the government's crypto holdings, nor has there been an audit of Fort Knox's gold supply in over 50 years, but I digress. And Trump's latest order directs a full accounting of the federal government's digital asset holdings. Yeah, let's put it all on the blockchain, a little, what is it called? Proof of reserves, like Bukele is doing. We need to know the address, and we check upon it, make sure it's really there, right? The White House said that the agencies must give full accounting of their crypto holdings, good, to the Treasury Secretary and the President's crypto working group established in January through the executive order to study the creation of the crypto stockpile, and the crowd is going wild. So there you go, yo. We touched upon the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill being signed into action by Trump yesterday. Now let's discuss how this is likely to reshape the institutional crypto investment landscape. So with Trump's executive order establishing the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and a national digital asset stockpile expected to be the catalyst for the wider Bitcoin adoption, according to investment analysts and crypto industry leaders, Trump acknowledged the needs to harness the power of digital assets while signing the executive order, which he stated, because there is a fixed supply of Bitcoin, there is a strategic advantage to being among the first nations to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's what's up. And the head of research at Bitwise anticipated a cascading effect where the countries and private investors will invest into the Bitty with renewed confidence. Quoting him here, the end game was never the U.S. government buys all the world's Bitcoin, he said. The end game was a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve means other countries will buy Bitcoin. Amen. Wealth managers have no excuse. Financial institutions have no excuse. Pensions endowments have no excuse. Fear of missing out. There's just ultimately no excuses left. And I agree. Large institutional investors, such as the wealth managers, financial institutions, pension schemes, have no excuse for no increasing exposure to Bitcoin and other crypto assets endorsed by the Trump admin. With the sell pressure reduced, the probability of the U.S. government and individual states procuring Bitcoin has increased. And he also said probability the government's outlaw Bitcoin is definitely zero. Well, if they could have outlawed Bitcoin, let's just keep it 100. Let's keep it a buck. It would have happened over a decade ago. They can't. So all they can do is control the on-ramps and the off-ramps, which are the exchanges through the KYC. But anyways, Andrew O'Neill, Digital Asset Managing Director of S&P Global, noted the Bitcoin reserve would only include Bitcoin already owned by the U.S. government, specifically assets forfeited through criminal or civil procedures. The presidential order to hold Bitcoin is mainly symbolic for Bitcoin to be formally recognized as a reserve asset, quoting him here. The order does not contemplate the possibility of acquiring additional Bitcoin for the reserve. That's actually not accurate, because if there's a net neutral way to not use our taxpayer dollars to buy the Bitcoin, they're going to do it. And that's what their agency Doge has set out to do. Find where they're wasting money and then use it, save money, and put it into the hardest asset to ever exist. And Michael Saylor said he's already creating a list of creative ways for them to put money into the Bitcoin. So you already know, family. Now, BitGet analyst said he anticipated Trump unveiling more details about strategic crypto reserve today at the White House Crypto Summit going on right now. The summit's outcome may significantly influence the regulatory landscape, and that's why there's a historic day in the market, shifting towards clarity on token classification, tax incentives. 0% capital gains tax is the rumor swirling right now, and reduced enforcement actions, possibly dismantling barriers for the banks and the funds. Quoting them here, a successful summit could see Bitcoin reclaim 100,000 in crypto assets like Ether, XRP, Solana, soar, cementing U.S. leadership of the global crypto markets. And conversely, a lack of the actionable steps might disappoint investors, underscoring the high stakes of the event. Let's not forget Germany panic selling their 50,000 Bitcoin at the bottom. That's right. Global Bitcoin adoption is underway. Many crypto enthusiasts recollected Germany's ill-timed decision like idiots to sell 50,000 Bitcoin between June 19th and July 12th last year at an average market price of $60,000, literally losing billions of dollars in the process, roughly $2.6 billion. The market value of 50,000 Bitcoin is currently over $4.45 billion, and Germany hastily decision to sell the confiscated Bitcoin cost them $1.5 billion, considering the market price of today at ballpark, 88,000. So there you have it. And our next story, we'll be discussing the global hash war. Now that the United States have signed the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Bill, will China, Russia, and what other countries likely be next? We're about to discuss it. Welcome everyone to the live stream. That's right. The Crypto Summit is live, discussing this game theory around the world, and then we'll dive into the speculation on the 0% capital gains tax, which may be announced any moment. China Bitcoin reserves. What happens if it follows the U.S. playbook? Let's break her down. As the United States moves forward with the strategic Bitcoin reserve, speculating it's growing over whether China will respond with its own national crypto strategy. As you know, last night, Trump made history, signing the executive order establishing the strategic Bitcoin reserve, as well as the digital asset stockpile. The reserves will initially be funded using Bitcoin and other digital assets, which were seized in government criminal cases. Criminals, drug traffickers. And with the U.S. shifting its stance on the biddy, China may make the move to avoid falling behind. March 3rd, Bitcoin advocate David Bailey, one of the Bitcoin supporters credited for orange pilling Trump, said China may be working on its own strategies in response to Trump's executive order. And I dare say that many countries are all doing the same thing behind the scenes right now. Bailey said the country has reportedly held closed-door meetings on Bitcoin since the 2024 U.S. elections, though no official confirmation has been made. As he shared right here, China is now working double time to stand up their own strategic Bitcoin reserve. They've been holding closed-door meetings on the topic since the elections. Let's discuss and speculate. If China adopts a Bitcoin strategic reserve, its holdings may rival those of the U.S. The U.S. government currently holds 198,000 Bitcoin, valued at more than $17 billion. In addition, White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs said the U.S. will not sell Bitcoin in the reserve, but will instead treat it as a long-term store of value. The government also intends to implement budget-neutral strategies to buy more of the Bitcoin. And again, Saylor's already on it. He's like, I'm already coming up with a ton of budget-neutral strategies for the U.S. to buy more Bitcoin. China has never officially disclosed its Bitcoin holdings or any sales strategies. In 2020, Chinese authorities seized nearly 195,000 Bitcoin from Plus Token Ponzi scheme. A ruling from the People's Court stated that profits from the confiscated crypto assets were forfeited to the National Treasury. Then January 23rd, CryptoQuant founder speculated China might have already sold its Bitcoin stash. The executive said it's unlikely the country would hold censorship-resistant money. However, he did note that it was only his personal opinion. He said the Chinese Communist Party transferred the coins to the National Treasury, but did not clarify whether it sold the coins or not. If China still holds the reserves and follows the U.S. Bitcoin reserve strategy, the country would be one of the largest Bitcoin holders globally. Also, we have Samson Mao, shout out Samson, said that while some Bitcoin supporters undermine the strategic Bitcoin reserve because the country didn't immediately purchase the Bitcoin, the effects of the establishment will be immense. Mao said this event sparks the real race for nation-state Bitcoin adoption, as Max Kaiser coined a long time ago the global hash war. The executive also pointed out that there are budget-neutral ways to acquire the Bitty, including issuing bonds or selling gold. There's a key right there. There's so much gold in which the United States is sitting on, allegedly, if it's actually at Fort Knox at the Reserve, right? It hasn't been audited in 50 years. But what if they just sold all their gold and bought Bitcoin? Peter Schiff, wellness check, please. Someone send someone to his house. Mao also pointed out the U.S. only has 112,000 Bitcoin or less, because you got to consider a huge portion of the holdings will be returned to the crypto exchange Bitfinex. This will put China in the pole position with 194,000 Bitcoin. So China, if you want pole position to be the leader, the leading nation of holding Bitcoin, all you got to do is establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And what are you waiting for, China? The executive added that the U.S. might not be able to accept losing to China in reserves and likely to add more Bitcoin to the stash. This is the global hash war. This is the game theory in full effect. Bitcoin holdings by country. This graph was produced by Jan 3. So shout out again, Samson Mao. It shows you United States owns 112,000 of the 198,000 Bitcoin, because again, a lot of it belongs to the Bitfinex people because it's from the Bitfinex hack. Then you have El Salvador with over 6,089 Bitcoin. You have the United Kingdom with 61,000 Bitcoin. Finland just shy of 2,000 Bitcoin. Bhutan, pretty staggering considering how small they are. They hold over 13,000 Bitcoin. China, 194,000 Bitcoin. Georgia, 66,000 Bitcoin. The Ukraine, 46,000 Bitcoin. What? Hypothetical. What if the United States, instead of sending like $250 billion, which is roughly 250 billion to the Ukraine to fund war, what if we just would have put all that into Bitcoin? You know what I mean? Honest question. How do you think that would impact America and the Bitcoin price holla? And while Beijing's stance on Bitcoin reserves remains uncertain, Hong Kong lawmakers are exploring the potential for Bitcoin adoption with China's one country, two system framework. For example, a member of the Hong Kong Legislative Council said Hong Kong could study the market impact of spot Bitcoin ETFs of the U.S. The official said Trump's proposal to make a strategic Bitcoin reserve asset might impact, no, it will impact traditional markets. And if you don't know now, you know. Now for our featured story of the day, the Crypto White House Summit is happening right now. Trump just made some announcements. Howard Lutnick is speaking at the time of this live stream. Right now, will they announce 0% capital gains tax on Bitcoin and all crypto made in the United States of America? Let's discuss it and do a deep dive here. That's right. President Trump prepares to host the first White House Summit going on right now as I'm moving my lips. More than 20 key industry leaders have been confirmed as attendees. The roundtable literally just started. It's expected to include more than 25 participants, including members of the Presidential Working Group on Digital Assets, according to Fox business reporter Eleanor Terrett. As of Friday morning, they reported that at least 22 crypto executives and 2 White House reps have confirmed their attendance. Quoting them here, unclear as of now who aside from Bo Hines and David Sachs will be in attendance. Well, we know for a fact that Lutnick is there. We know for a fact Michael Saylor's there because he's sitting pretty close to Trump. But if you go back to Trump's executive order, the Presidential Working Group also includes Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and SEC Chair Nippinator, and the CFTC chair, and others. The list of crypto executives and government attendees confirmed as of March 6th at 9 p.m. is all the following. So, I mean, here's a list of the attendees. You have Chris Dixon, general partner of Anderson Horowitz, Fred Thiel, the CEO of Marathon Digital, the largest Bitcoin miner, Mike Belsch, CEO of BitGo, Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, Chris Giancarlo, the former CFTC chairman, and the list just goes on and on. You got Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, the owners of the Gemini Exchange. You have the CEO of Crypto.com, the CEO of Robinhood, the CEO of Kraken, Michael Saylor, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, Sergey, co-founder of Chainlink, and the list, I mean, goes on and on. CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, Wisdom Tree, basically all the CEOs of all the big companies in crypto. And with the event happening at this current moment, notably Tether CEO Apollo and Binance co-founder CZ have not confirmed they'll attend the summit. So we're not 100% sure if they're there right now. But some community members speculate that the Tether CEO may have received the invitation. I think he did. I saw something last night that he got invited. And Tether's massive, the largest stablecoin in the crypto sphere. So I wouldn't be surprised. He was amongst the attendees at another meeting in Washington, D.C., hosted by the CFTC. And according to Territ, CFTC acting chair Caroline Pham hosted a crypto CEO forum March 6th featuring industry leaders, including the Tether CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, MoonPay CEO, and Crypto.com's Chris, as well as Circle president and Coinbase's institutional head, Greg Sarr. And you can see the people right here. I just met up there in Washington. And additional attendees at the CFTC forum include Ripple's policy head, as well as MoonPay's Keith Grossman and Coinbase's, basically all the movers and shakers in the space. Quoting them here, a larger invite-only reception is being planned across the street from the White House for those not invited to the roundtable meeting. Good to note. So there's a lot of crypto folks about to meet up after the White House summit. And as speculation around the summit continues, the crypto community called for the inclusion of other key industry figures, including ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood, Ethereum co-founder Vitalik, and Circle co-founder and Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson, and Solana founder Anatoly. The highly anticipated White House summit comes amid heated debate surrounding Trump's executive order, which got signed into effect last night. And while many industry leaders and government officials saw the order as a historic and positive event for crypto, others were not happy about the Bitcoin U.S. Reserve apparently only including confiscated Bitcoin. Well, we all know they could acquire and buy more Bitcoin as long as it's like a net neutral thing. So we already discussed that. And according to 10x Research, Trump's Bitcoin Reserve order didn't meet crowd expectations as the community largely anticipated significantly buying instead of just keeping 200,000 of the bitty that have been seized over the years through criminal and civil forfeiture. Quoting 10x Research here, although additional measures could be announced later, the latest development highlights a significant gap between an ideal scenario and the actual policy rollout. On the other hand, Coinbase product strategy head Connor estimated that Trump's executive order moved at least $18 billion worth of sell-side pressure. And if you don't know, now you know. Now for the million-dollar question at hand. Will the announcement be made today of 0% capital gains tax on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies made in the USA? That's what we're anticipating. That's the big rumor, which has been circulating. Let me know your 2 Satoshis. I'll read your comments out loud. Welcome, everyone, to the Q&A segment of the live stream. And as the speaking continues at the White House Summit, I'll be giving you a play-by-play, very special day, very special stream,